Limits of the Flesh, Chapter 41, Fantasy Fiction by Azazyel. My light rest was broken by the door to our room unlocking and opening with the room's shadows thickening as spikes grew within the shadows, but as Rias and Akeno walked into the room as the door swung open the shadow spikes just disappeared as though they never existed. "Jake, Grayfia told us you have woke back up. How are you feeling?" Rias asked me and I sat up in my bed that way I didn't look too weak as I shrugged. "Well, the implantation was a success. Messed with my life force but that was to be expected. Can also rectified with some work," I replied openly making the girls nod in understanding. "Well, you and Ark ready to go back to Earth? We should probably get going as Big Brother and Father needs us out of the underworld as soon as possible," Rias asked but deadpanned at the sight of Ark laying her head on my lap and looking at the two other girls blankly with only a hint of a smug aura around her. "Arcuade, it's time to get up, we need to get going home," I said as Arcuade gave me a pouty look as I moved her head out of my lap so I could stand up and I blinked as I realized I had been changed out of my dress-up shirt and pants into my basketball shorts and a workout shirt that I typically slept in when my creations wanted to snuggle. Who changed me?" I asked dryly and Akeno giggled with a sadistic light to her eyes. "Hee, I took up the responsibility of caring for you and I made sure to find all your ticklish spots, Jake," she teased. But I only deadpanned as I finally stood up with Arcuade climbing out of bed to stand beside me. "I literally have no tickle spots. I changed my body to not have that terrible weakness. Want me to tickle and play with all your spots, Akeno?" I offered and she could only weakly laugh as she subtly moved to put Rias between me and her. "Anyway, Jake, let's get you home. Kaneko has agreed to help to teach Ni and Lee how to properly use bedroom arts as well as do the lesser form of it in cuddling with you." Rias spoke with a hint of jealousy in her voice. A couple of seconds later as Rias and Akeno took my arms Arcuade held her arms around my stomach from behind, we were all swallowed by the Gremry magical crest as we're all teleported away back to Earth. Once we got back to Earth, I was welcomed to the sight of Rias's peerage, my sentient creations, Yubaluna, Ni, Enli, N. one of my phoenix cows all waiting for our arrival. "Master is back." Klee screamed with glee as she literally exploded in place but the flames nor the impact of the explosion seemed to hurt her as she literally launched herself like a lowly rocket at my form that was pinned in place by Rias, Akeno, and Arcuade after just coming out of the teleport. Yeah, getting a body slammed by like 80 pounds of flesh-crafted overactive child moving faster than a high-speed baseball wasn't pleasant especially with Ark behind me acting as a stable wall and not allowing me to bleed off the impact of Klee's tackle on me. "We all missed you, Master," Klee shouted as she did her best to hug the stuffing out of me, so I just awkwardly patted her on the head as I looked up to Rias's peerage who chuckled at how awkward I looked. "Well, now that you are back, hopefully, Master Suji will head back to the underworld. He is an utter slave driver with how he has been pushing me and Ei." Kiba complained as he walked over and gave me a quick bro-side bro hug before he left the room to probably go stroke a sword in the thought of destroying Excalibur. "Well, Kaneko, I am leaving Jake in your hands. Make sure to take care of him." Rias spoke to Kaneko and then Rias took Akeno's wrist as she all but dragged her out of the room as she was giving me expectant looks. Like did she expect me to whip out the Grail and just bring back her mom from the dead with no practice with the thing? I couldn't help but think but before Rias could pull the woman out with her, I spoke up. "Akeno. Make sure to collect a base DNA sample that's from your mother. Could be some hair, some dead skin flakes, anything. Just the more the better." I spoke up as although those samples weren't that great, but after more than 5 years of her being dead I will take what I can get. "Once I get some practice with the Grail your mother will be the first thing I take care of," I spoke with Akeno biting her lip as she nodded. "Rias, I need your help, I need to get to my old dash." The conversation was cut off as they left the room, but I could guess she was asking Rias if she could help her get into her old house which was probably still under the Himajima's clan's control, and she was barred from re-entering such land under pain of death as she was banished from her clan. Kaneko loudly cleared her throat and my eyes snapped to her with the petite girl blushing at my gaze before she spoke in her deadpan voice but this time with a bit of embarrassment in her voice. "Jake, send your little creations away, we are going to lay down together and I am going to show Ni and Lee the light version of bedroom arts. Kaneko tried to order but her pink cheeks made it fall flat, especially when Monet spoke up. But we just got to see Master again. And why can't you also teach us these bedroom arts? Monet complained as she huffed with her arms covering themselves in feathers for a second before she got control of her irritation. Because you aren't a yokai and messing with someone's life force comes to us naturally. Plus, who is to say a bird brain like you wouldn't just force all your life force into Jake's body to make him feel better? Kaneko deadpanned as I laid down on a couch that I was told to. That could work. Then Master could just make me a new body or something, right? Monet cried as she held onto her head and I bonked her on the back with her fist. Don't make trouble for Master, I spoke softly as she eyed Monet before looking to Kaneko. Take care of our Master, me, and this new. In addition to Master's retinue will be speaking outside the room so I can get her measured. I spoke softly but with steel in her voice, as all my creations typically deferred to her as she was my hardest working and loyal subject. But she looked at as both a sister in arms and more worryingly as something of a threat or something in her way, as she eyed the Raiden Shogun, who met her gaze with a silent weight behind her. Go with and behave, I ordered, cutting off the staring contest as I could feel Kaneko losing her bravery. Finally, with the room emptied as and Arcuade took Monet and Yubaluna, who only was able to give a courtesy welcome back home, before I got swept away in my other creations' antics, it was just myself locked in a room of catgirls.